Welcome to the Atlantic Current. I'm Vince Martin from Wall Street in Maine here with Tull McAdoo from the Irish Politics newsletter. This is part 2 of our sprawling review of sport on both sides of the Atlantic. So we closed part 1 with the curse of 51. If you have not listened,
everybody knows
if you
that.
have not listened, please go back and listen to that. It was one of the greatest sports stories I've ever heard, which I had not heard before that. After that went up, I was talking with a very dear friend of mine who grew up in a very Irish-American neighborhood in the North Bronx, now lives not too far from there. And he was talking about how big GAA is there. You know, you had said that there are GAA branches outside the U.S. He actually played Gaelic football growing up. And he had one funny story, which I thought you'd appreciate. Obviously, at the time, you couldn't view Irish sports in America. And the Irish pubs in the North Bronx in that area had like a network where people would buy, sell, and trade VHS tapes of GAA hurling and football matches.
What? There was a black market
pretty much, yeah,
for GAA matches.
Yep, because that was kind of the only way that they could watch them. And he was talking about how his father would go to the pub and come home with VHS tapes of, you know, Cork versus Kerry hurling or whatever. It was really
let me correct you there. Cork and Kerry never play in the hurling because Cork are too good for them.
Okay.
We usually play in the football though, and Kerry are too good for us. That's where we are. But there was a black market in GAA tapes, VHS GAA tapes. Do we know how much these were going for?
He didn't say. I really should have asked. I'm sure like in most of those networks, it was probably, in some cases, it was like $20. In other cases, it was buy a Guinness and you got a free.
The first thing you do when we finish this podcast is ring your friend, find out does he still have those VHS tapes, because they're probably worth some money today.
That's true. Yeah, we're going to start a YouTube channel of classic GAA highlights with stolen black market American
from the 1970s and 1980s, stuff people have never seen.
Exactly. Yeah,
that'd be a niche market, wouldn't it? That'd be a money making market somewhere.
Yeah, it's got to be. So I thought you'd appreciate that, and that's actually a good lead in to what we're going to talk about right here, because we're going to talk a little bit more about the GAA system, which is a huge deal in Ireland, right?
Yeah, and it's massive. It's massive. So your All-Ireland final is going to be made up of 2 counties. There's 32 counties on the island of Ireland, and it will always be, 2 counties in the final, same as your Super Bowl. It's a big deal. 82,000 people in Croke Park. It's the highlight of our sporting year day, particularly the hurling, because the hurling is a better thing to watch than.
Yeah, I don't understand what they're doing, but it's pretty neat to watch them doing it. It is a hell of a sport.
You've watched the hurling, have you?
I've just seen clips and stuff on YouTube. And one of my favorite writers is the late Frank Delaney, an Irishman. Can't recommend his books highly enough. And I believe he wrote that hurling is, quote, a cross between hockey and murder.
Yeah, that's right.
Is about how he turned it.
Bloomberg once described it as a warlike ball game played on foot with clubs. If any of our American listeners have seen a lacrosse match, it's not all that dissimilar, and there's a bit of argument amongst historians whether lacrosse was introduced into the United States by Irish people playing hurling, or did lacrosse evolve on its own within Native American society. There's a bit of an argument there amongst historians.
Interesting,
what happened there. So.
Yeah, lacrosse is a hell of a game. I played lacrosse in college, and a lot of people play, and its participation is fast growing, but for whatever reason, it's never broken into the kind of the broader sporting world. Like soccer, they keep trying, they keep starting leagues. There's 2 leagues running now. It just doesn't quite get over the hump. So for GAA, these counties, I mean, if you're a small county, does it just kind of, your odds of making a final are basically 0?
They're non-existent for the most part.
Right. Because that would be the American equivalent. Like if we had something done at the state level, like Wyoming would just never win. Yeah. There's just not enough people.
So the best way to describe that is if you had 50 states playing each other rather than franchises. Okay?
Right.
So each state had its own best players and they all played each other. That's the best way I can describe an All-Ireland hurling competition.
And so it is going to be dominated by the largest counties then mostly. Is that fair to say?
Yes, Dublin, Cork, Mayo, any county with a large geographic size is going to do well. In Gaelic football, it's dominated by Cork, or dominated by, I'd get murdered for saying that. It's dominated by Kerry and Dublin, who have won the most All-Irelands in the Gaelic football. For a long time, Cork and Kilkenny was a duopoly. for the most part. They share the most hurling finals or whole hurling titles. In recent years, Tipperary, Galway, they're always nipping in the heels. Cork have lost a lot of All-Ireland finals recently. So I've been pretty sick at that. I go into hiding, once a year. Like, I can't be seen after we lose an All-Ireland hurling final.
As you said, it's the hope that kills you, right?
It's the hope that kills you. The hurling's mostly popular in Munster.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you won't see much hurling in the rest of the country, or maybe outside of Galway, Dublin and Antrim. But it's Gaelic football everywhere else. But hurling's definitely a Munster stronghold. So there's a geographic madness to what goes on in the hurling. So what happens at a county level is that, you're spotted playing for your club from a very young age, and you'll go on to play underage hurling, which would be the equivalent of your college football, but obviously college football's on a much bigger scale, isn't it, Vince?
Yeah, college football is a massive, massive thing. The NFL gets more viewers, but college football fandom is the most rabid in America. And I'd actually kind of be interested to sort of put that up against the most rabid fans in England of Premier League teams or something like that. They are just nuts. I lived in Oklahoma for a few years, and like I said, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State football are huge. People on the curbs of their homes have their street number spray painted, and then they will spray paint the logo of either OU or Oklahoma State to show their allegiance, literally, like, to everyone that drives by their home. Some people will then spend the extra money and spray paint the Texas Longhorns logo upside down. Their logo is a white longhorn on
I've seen that,
burnt orange background. You'll see it upside down all across Oklahoma.
It's like Northern Ireland, if you're in a loyalist area or a nationalist area.
There is, yeah.
If they're flying the Union Jack or the tricolour, so it's a bit similar to that.
Yeah, and I think this story might unfortunately have some echoes. This happened in 2011 at a bar in Oklahoma City. I've been to this bar. It is a nice bar. It's in probably the most exclusive, expensive neighborhood in Oklahoma City. And this happens in May. Just to clarify, college football starts in late August, early September. A guy I think he was in his late 20s, he walked into this bar wearing a Texas Longhorn shirt. 2 hours later, he walked out grievously injured in a place where only a man can get grievously injured. Evidently, this guy and a guy in his 40s just wound up talking, and it escalated into a physical altercation, which then at some point wound up this poor guy going to the hospital to get his manhood repaired, basically.
Sure.
The news item, they asked a local defense attorney in Oklahoma City why there were no charges pressed. And the guy's response was, the district attorney probably understood that no jury was going to convict. Basically, if you were not going to get 12 people in Oklahoma City to agree that wearing a Texas Longhorns t-shirt into a bar on a Saturday afternoon is not sufficient grounds for criminal assault. Yeah. And then the other famous one is Alabama and Auburn, which are the two big state universities in Alabama. Have a long rivalry. They play every year. It's called the Iron Bowl. And one year, Auburn beat Alabama. And when they would win a football game, on the campus of school, they'd go to a place called Toomer's Corner and throw toilet paper onto all the
Corner.
trees. Yeah, Toomer's Corner.
As in tumor, as in cancerous tumor?
No, I think it's Toomer. Just all some right. Guy named Toomer.
Sounds like a dodgy corner.
Yeah. This tradition, some frat guy in 1935 went and threw some toilet paper. And, by 2015, everyone on campus went and threw toilet paper and just covered the tree. Fun times had by all. So one year Auburn beat Alabama, and it pissed off an Alabama fan, and he drove to the Auburn campus and poisoned all the trees. And then he called into the biggest sports talk radio show in the Southeast, which, believe it or not, was run by this tiny little bespectacled Jewish guy from New York City. I don't know the history of that, but it's just one of these weird sports things, like how that guy got the job. Just beloved across the South. Everyone listened to him. And this guy called in. He was Harvey. I can't remember. Harvey from somewhere, some town in Alabama. And he calls in. He's like, yeah, I just poisoned all the trees at Toomer's Corner. And they're like, oh, that's funny. And sure enough, yeah, they sent like horticulturists from around the world to save the trees. Couldn't do it. They all died.
That's top level spite and vengeance.
Yeah.
What that is. I mean, that guy's all the makings of a serial killer, whoever he is.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem
Harvey,
like
the horticulturist murderer or something. They're terrible, man. That's very poor
yeah.
behavior.
Yeah, he
Very
served 6 months in jail for it. We're going to do kind of a quick pop quiz here. I know you don't know much about college sports, but these are pretty easy questions. College sports is a ton of money, and they are organized at the conference level. So schools organize into conferences where they play most of their games, and those conferences pretty well known. So let's start here. How many teams do you think there are in the Big Ten?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say 10.
18.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, there are 18 teams in the Big Ten. That's it. We're going to try another one. All right. So how many teams do you think there are in the Big 12?
I'm a quite literal person sometimes because I'm a man of numbers when it comes to politics. I'm going to go 12 again.
No, 16.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Some of that logic to me. Because 10 and 18 kind of doesn't add up, and 12 and 16 doesn't add up. So
well, it does. In America, it does. You guys use a metric system. You guys don't quite understand how this stuff works. Big 10, 18 teams. Big 12, 16 teams.
Why are they called the Big 10? Why are they called the Big 10 if there's 18 teams?
Because at one point there were 10 teams. We're going to do one more question, a geography question.
Right.
And then this one is easy. You didn't do good on the arithmetic ones.
Hang a sec. If we were going to have questions, should I have not had some alcoholic beverage here, a pop quiz and sport? Have to, call herself and bring me in a beer at least. Okay,
I think you need something stronger to understand American college sports at this point.
Maybe ketamine. Get some ketamine off Elon Musk. Okay, let's do this.
All right, so here's the nice geographic question. Athletic teams from the University of California at Berkeley, which is the flagship institution of that state's system of higher education, they play their athletics in the blank coast conference. Fill in the blank.
I'm going to limb here, and because California is on the West Coast, I'm going to say West Coast Conference. Would I be correct?
Nope. They play in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
I'm just Googling a map of the United States, and let me check here. Yes, California is definitely on the Pacific Ocean, Vince.
It is. And Berkeley's a good school. They play. Yeah.
It's about, I don't know what the width of the United States is, but I'm guessing it's nearly 2,000 kilometers away from the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, I think Berkeley has got to be right about 3,000 miles from the Atlantic coast. Yeah. And 22 from the Pacific coast. Yeah, what happened is we talked a little bit before about TV money in America. TV money has exploded, and all the conferences historically had been regional. So the Big Ten was 10 teams in the Midwest, Ohio State, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana. But what the conferences realized is if you could poach more teams and make your conference bigger, you could get TV deals that were actually bigger per school. So the Big Ten now has 18 teams. It includes the University of Oregon and the University of Maryland, believe it or not. The ACC has California and Stanford, along with the University of Miami, Florida. So, yeah, it is insane.
I know this much about college football, and it's something it's caught my eye a few times. Am I correct in saying the states fund these college football programs?
Football is a very expensive sport. So at the highest end, the really good programs actually make a ton of money. The universities profit. But I think if you get beyond the 40 most profitable programs at the lower level, they actually are a cost for the university. Yeah.
Okay, because I read the highest paid state official in most states is the guy that's in charge of their college football program. The head coach of whoever the university, Ole Miss or University of Florida, whatever. Yeah. The highest state paid official in the state, paid more than the governor, paid more than the head of engineering or whatever the case may be, is actually the college football guy. Whoever's in.
Oh, for sure, football. It's not even close. The big contracts now for college football are going upwards of $10 million a year.
Whoa. So,
and there's all sorts of buyouts and stuff. So guys sign like a $75 million contract for 8 years or 10 years, and then they get fired after 3 years and they collect all the money.
Okay. Another question for you. With that amount of money slushing around, college football. We're talking tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Are players being bribed? Are players susceptible to corruption? Is there much corruption in college football? Because they don't get paid, do they?
The college football players now do get paid.
Oh,
and there has been, for a while, the system was really pretty gross. They got a scholarship, they got room and board, they got small stipends, but literally, like, if you just saw a football player and you liked him and you wanted to give him $5,000, or if you wanted to fly his parents to a game that didn't have the money, that was a violation of the NCAA, which is the organization that handles college sports.
Amateur rules, is it?
Yeah, basically a violation of the amateur rules, and they would get suspended. And it was pretty awful. And players kept suing and wound up winning. So now we have something that's the other way around, where the best players now are getting paid millions and millions of dollars. The money is basically organized from hugely wealthy fans. We call them boosters.
Yeah, I've heard that term. They're just so ex-alumni of the university.
Yeah, and one of the most famous ones was at Oklahoma State, actually. They unsurprisingly have their stadium named after him. It's Boone Pickens Stadium. He was an oil billionaire.
Boone Pickens.
Boone Pickens, yeah.
That's the most American name ever.
It really does sound like, if you don't know anything about college sports, you go, who's the biggest donor at Oklahoma State? And you go, Boone Pickens. Yeah, that sounds exactly right. Sounds like
how much did he donate?
I think the total, he's passed now. I think the total was close to $200 million.
Good grief.
For college sports.
Yeah, I mean, where do you even start there? I mean, with the GAA, we're not even into the 100 million, you know?
It is just massive amounts of money now. Mostly TV, but even the gate, even the amount of people that go to these stadiums is pretty wild.
Yeah, I was looking up stadiums earlier on, and I thought Croke Park was one of the biggest stadiums in the world. And it is one of the biggest stadiums in Europe. It holds 82,000 people. That's where we hold our equivalent of the Super Bowl every year in the hurling and the Gaelic football. But I'm looking at some of these stadiums in the United States, and these are college football stadiums, and they hold 110,000, 105,000, 103,000. These are massive bloody stadiums. You could fit whole counties in Ireland into them.
Yeah, it's wild. I think University of Michigan is the biggest. It's like 108,000, and they fill it.
They sell out.
Oh, yeah. I've never been to like one of those huge stadiums. I can't imagine what the view is from up top. Like the worst seat in the house, the players must look like, a video game from 1992 or something. Football in Texas is so big that the high school stadiums sometimes cost $100 million and hold 25,000 people.
There's League of Ireland soccer clubs in Ireland, professional League of Ireland soccer clubs in Ireland some of their stadiums wouldn't hold 5,000 or 6,000 people. Never mind.
Wow.
You're talking high school, what we would call secondary school in Ireland.
Right.
Not even on the same scale. That's how big American football seems to be, what you're telling me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. If you've ever seen the movie or read the book or the show Friday Night Lights is about high school football in Texas.
Yeah, it's good TV,
Yeah, and that was a nonfiction book, chronicled a team in West Texas in 1988. It's really wild. I mean, they have fictionalized it, obviously, but the nonfiction original book is just stunning in terms of what it means. I mean, I grew up in a place where football was actually pretty big in North Jersey, the town I grew up in, and we had the last game I played, we had, I think, 12,000 people there. Even that was nothing compared to what it's like to play high school football in Texas.
Good grief. That's a stunning, they're stunning numbers you're throwing at me, Vince. And it's all driven by money at the end of the day. An all-star quarterback can make hundreds of millions. Money is driving sport all around the world, would be it rugby, soccer, particularly soccer. The Premiership is just a money-making machine at the moment for the clubs for television rights. Even if you get relegated out of the Premier League, there's a good chance you're going to come up, get re-promoted the following season because you've so much money. It is all finance driven and made it a little bit dirty on one level because you're not generating talent anymore. You're buying talent for the most part, aren't you?
And I could be wrong, but like for the Premier League in particular, there really aren't league limits on spending money, is there? I mean, these guys who own it are just billionaires and they can fund it out of pocket?
No, you have to have a certain amount of cash flow there and you can only spend X amount of that on buying players.
I see. Okay. So there is a limit. Okay.
Yeah. So Manchester City got in trouble there recently because they engaged in some creative accounting in regards to trying to buy players and, moving money off the books and moving player on and off books and that kind of thing and setting up shell corporations to hide what they've been buying and selling. FIFA is incredibly corrupt, and like any corrupt organization, and be it the Trump mafia at the moment, that if the person at the top is very corrupt, it feeds down to all layers, all strata of the organization very, very quite quickly. And that's been happening with FIFA for many years. They've been incredibly corrupt. Sepp Blatter, famously very corrupt. The vice president of USA Soccer, he was caught taking tens of millions of bribes, if my memory serves me correctly.
Oh, I don't think I even knew that. That's wild.
Yeah, he was hitting a sting operation by the FBI when the FBI were to be trusted. And you see, Trump got some weird peace prize from the head
of the FIFA Peace Prize. Yeah,
FIFA is so corrupt. Okay, the Guardian got to speak to somebody high up, and they spoke anonymously to the Guardian and said they were very, very embarrassed by what was going on with Gianni Infantino and Trump, and giving them this weird peace prize. And the Guardian journalist noted that the person he was speaking to was famously corrupt himself, and he was terribly embarrassed by what was going on with Trump. So that would tell you, how bad things.
Yeah.
Oh, bad things.
We did our corruption behind closed doors. This is ridiculous, doing it in public like that. Just awful.
Yeah. They used to try and do it, underhanded. Now it's just open corruption. I've seen reports saying that FIFA is more poorly governed today than it was 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, there was just everybody was bribing each other.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there was so much bribery there. Yeah.
Yeah. And FIFA continues to be massively corrupt, and they're really embarrassed with what's going on with Trump and FIFA. They don't want nothing else to do with him. So that'll tell you how corrupt Trump is. If the most corrupt sporting organization in the world wants nothing got to do with Trump.
I'm going to push back a little and defend America's honor, because I have seen people say, like, oh, since the World Cup's here, we're not going to the World Cup in America. That's terrible. And I'm repeating a point other people have made, but I think the last two World Cups were held in Qatar and Russia.
Yes, so, famously, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on, guys, we're not as bad as Qatar and Russia. Let's not overblow the situation.
Yes, Vince, Qatar and Russia, countries famously full of human rights. They're very famously woke and full of human rights.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact 6,500 immigrant workers is the estimate. Now, I've seen much higher numbers, but this is on the kind of moderate level. Died during the construction of World Cup venues.
Yeah. Staggering numbers. We heard about that here too.
Like from the Philippines, from the India. A massive human rights scandal. And, everybody's like, okay, we have to respect their culture and their rights and all this kind of crack.
Yeah, and there were all sorts of stories, right, that the workers came from, like you said, Southeast Asia or Bangladesh, India, that they would get there and their passport or their visa or whatever just kind of be confiscated by the boss. So there were people saying it was about as close to slavery as you're going to see in the modern world. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. Yeah.
So when people are up in their hackles about the United States human rights, and I have a problem with this in politics in general, because you see people saying that, people should come off X, politicians should come off X, and this, that, and the other. Be consistent. If you're going to come off X, come off Facebook, come off TikTok, all the rest, okay? If you're giving out about human rights, okay, don't go to the United States, but also don't go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Don't go to Qatar.
Yeah.
Don't go to Russia. Be consistent, okay? The problem for Donald Trump, I think, a lot of Latino countries are in the World Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, are people going to snatch him off the streets? What's going to happen there, I think, is Trump's real problem. And it won't look great for Trump or FIFA if they're half-empty stadiums all over North America. And the United States has some fantastic stadiums, and there should be a showpiece.
Right.
It's not going to look great for Trump or Infantino. Infantino will be turfed out in his ear if this World Cup flops. And some countries are openly talking about boycotting the World Cup.
Yeah.
I was surprised at that. But I mean, they didn't boycott Russia, they didn't boycott Qatar. You're full of okay?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Thanks for standing up for America, Tull. That's right. We're better than Qatar, damn it.
Yeah, human rights are on shaky ground at the moment, but it certainly is not as bad as Russia or Qatar. The optics of people not travelling to the United States, I think that will happen. I actually think it will happen, because I think people feel a sense of offence at what Trump is doing to the Western liberal order and all that kind of jazz. I think people are offended and they won't travel. So I think that's going to be a problem. Half-empty stadiums is a real problem for this upcoming.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Border Patrol acts too. We did that whole episode about the ESTA application and social media and stuff, and it'll be interesting to see if there are stories of soccer fans showing up at LaGuardia or wherever to go to a match and being turned away because their Twitter account did something or whatever it is. Be interesting to see if they back down on that policy at all.
If Ireland get to a World Cup, will you go watch them, Vince? I can't. I won't be allowed into the country.
I'll go and I'll bring my phone. We can FaceTime.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a World Cup, a proper World Cup. Everybody knows Irish soccer fans are the best in the world. In fairness, we have a tendency, we keep any tournament we show up to, we keep getting voted the best fans. So
Very cool. Okay,
that's
I can
probably
see
because
that. Yeah.
the English fans are too busy breaking up places, breaking up bars and pubs and stuff like that. Sorry, English. If there's anybody in the UK listening, sorry about that. Or England, sorry, not the UK.
Yeah, I know England still has a reputation here as hooligans. Is Ireland in this 2026 World Cup?
We have one playoff match to go against Czech Republic. We haven't been in a World Cup in a long time. 2002 was our last World Cup.
Okay.
And that was in South Korea and Japan. And that was very famously Roy Keane and the Saipan incident. I don't know if you've heard that. But
no.
Roy Keane, our star player, decided to, quit the team because the facilities weren't up to scratch, and he blamed the manager. There was a massive bust-up, and they recently made a movie about it. It was up there with the Civil War in terms of who did you support? Did you support Roy Keane? Did you support Mick McCarthy? And it was at the time called a second Civil War because you were either on one side or the other. People didn't speak to each other. Brothers didn't talk to each other. Families didn't talk to each other. With divorces, the divorce rate spiked that year. 2002 was our last World Cup, so it's been a long time coming.
For any American listeners who aren't familiar with Roy Keane or with Irish football, in the show Ted Lasso, the character Roy Kent was very clearly written to be Roy Keane. Yeah, very famously surly and argumentative, right? Kind of always in the midst of something.
Yeah, that's like myself, another Cork man. Roy Keane's a Cork man like myself, and I'm very famous, surly, argumentative man, as you see by my social media.
If Ireland does make the World Cup, when they play, the country of Ireland is going to shut down during that game?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the last time we played in the 1994 World Cup in the United States, we beat Italy 1-0 in the Giant Stadium. That was a very famous game for us because, Italy are a massive team, one of the best teams in the world, and we got out of it and we won 1-0. We got to the last round of 16 and we were beaten by Mexico, I think. I think we were playing at Florida. Okay. And as you can imagine, Florida in the middle of summer, you know this better than I would, was like a swamp. It was,
miserable.
Something else. Yeah. And Irish people were just dropping off this. There was fans just standing there in the stadium and they were just passing out from watching the match. So can you imagine playing in it in Florida in the middle of summer and in the middle of the day as well, not at night. So
right. We're going to wrap up here with one question that I wanted to ask. We've talked on and off about the Premier League. It does seem to me that there's a real irony about the Premier League and most major European soccer leagues. They seem much more American in terms of their outlook, whereas American leagues seem much more European. American professional sports are pretty much socialist.
Why would you say socialist? That's an interesting choice of word.
Because the leagues are actually designed to protect and push up the weakest performers. Yeah. So, for instance, in the NFL, they now play 17 games a year. 3 of those games are determined by your results of the year before. If you're one of the worst teams in 2025, you have 3 games in your 2026 schedule against 3 of the other worst teams. And the best teams will have to play the best teams. We have salary caps so that teams can't spend so much money. I don't even understand how Premier League transfers and all that you guys talk about. But we have a draft. So when players join the professional league, they have to get drafted and the worst team gets the first pick. All these leagues are designed year after year to keep pushing the worst teams higher. They actually have as a goal what's called parity, that any team can kind of win the title, maybe not this year, but in relatively short order. Seems to me like European soccer is quite different, no? Isn't it kind of very top heavy?
Well, when it comes to international soccer, we have the seeding system as you described there as well, the best team. Right. So you're in different pots of seedings. Okay, so
to qualify for the World Cup or whatever.
Yeah, okay. You have seedings there as well, okay? And what you say is the worst teams get to pick the best players, okay? So yes, the NFL and the people in charge of American football try and level the playing field somewhat.
Right.
Okay. In Europe, with the introduction of so much money when it came to TV rights, they never got a chance to regulate it properly. They never got a chance to say, what are we going to do here? And a big thing is actually the EU. And the EU says you have to have, freedom of people and freedom of movement. That means you could buy any player you wanted from any other country.
Huh. Okay.
Very famously, there was something called the Bosman ruling, and that essentially liberalised the soccer transfer market, that all of a sudden you could buy who you wanted, when you wanted, and if that person was out of contract, they could sign for another team, and it allowed the European market be flooded with TV money. The Premiership got out in front there. This is where all the players are going now, is to the Premiership.
Yeah, a lot of TV money and a lot of money in the pockets of its owners too, right? As the overseas owners came in, and
yes, I think the owner of the Boston Red Sox owns Liverpool also.
Yeah, John Henry. Yeah, they have a stake in Liverpool.
And the Glazers.
Yep, the Glazers have Man U, and there's been some actually pretty aggressive American money into lower division English football. The famous thing is the two actors who bought Wrexham, which I think was like fourth division. Yeah, made a TV show. But there actually have been American private equity firms buying lower division teams and basically trying to replicate that strategy, but to make money, saying that if we run these teams in a really capitalist American way and try and play all the angles and try and get all the best data and all the stuff, that we can get promoted. We'll buy the team for £5 million or whatever. And if we get up to even the championship level, it might be worth £100 million or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The money balling it is what they call it, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's one version of it. Moneyball, famous baseball strategy executed by a guy who basically had no budget and had to kind of find all these angles and find these overlooked players. Yeah, Billy Bean. They made a played by Brad Pitt in the movie. Yeah.
So after all this, Vince, we've come to the conclusion that money calls the shots in sport.
I don't think we needed a very long podcast to figure that out, but yeah, that's definitely true.
We wanted to do something different away from the geopolitics at the moment and away from current affairs, because if you go to your doctor, your GP for some Xanax, if this continues any longer. Before we go, Vince, who will you be supporting on Sunday?
I'll tell you what, I probably won't watch.
Really? Are you serious? You will not watch? So most of your country will watch. 60 million people apparently overseas watch the Super Bowl. Okay, I won't be one of them. I'll be in bed asleep. So you will not watch one or the other?
I probably won't, because particularly as I've gotten older, I've always just been a guy who really loves watching my team, even if that means watching the New York Jets lose again and break my heart. But I love the passion, the camaraderie, and kind of the history and all that stuff of it. I just find it oddly difficult to watch games where I don't really have much of an interest. So I might kind of follow along.
Emotional investment.
Yeah. I mean, I do really want the Seahawks to win. I hope the Patriots score negative points, become the first team in the history of American football to somehow score negative points.
I think that's very unsportsmanlike behavior from you, Vince, to be perfectly honest.
I think it's very sport-like behavior, though.
I think there's no redeeming your soul here. I think, if the New York Jets, your team, are full of people like you, I think, there's a reason why you keep losing every season.
Yeah, New York Jets fans are pretty much full of people like me. It's not a fun fan base. Yeah, bitter, spiteful, angry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, do not go on Jets Twitter or something. It's just, it's rough.
It's full of you're like the Mayo. Are you like the Mayo of American football? Are you? Is there a curse on you as well?
We're not even interesting enough to get a curse. We haven't won. So what was it, 69? So we haven't won in 57 years.
Okay.
And you would think someone would be like, oh, it's the curse of Joe Namath, who was the famous quarterback who led the victory. No, we don't get a curse. It's just, they're just the Jets. The Cubs and the Red Sox got documentaries and books written about their sadness and sympathy. And
you wouldn't even get a Netflix documentary about you,
No. Everyone just kind of ignores us and it sucks to be you, I guess.
That's really poor behavior.
It's been a tough run. I've got some issues. So
well, at least we're a current affairs podcast, not a Jets podcast, because
that's true.
Dark.
Yeah,
because things get dark very quickly.
I do not want to host a Jets podcast. I don't want to listen to a Jets podcast. Just people saying, "Oh God, this sucks" for an hour. I do love the time I spend with sports. I love being a fan. I think that there are so many wonderful things about it, even if it's occasionally silly, even if there's money involved, even if it's rooting for laundry. So, what is your favorite personal sporting memory?
I have a lot around rugby. There's too many to pick. Munster winning the European Cup twice. In 2023, I was in Lansdowne Road for the Ireland and France Six Nations matches. One of the all-time classic great rugby matches of all time, apparently. But I was only a small child in Cork in 1990, and Cork did the double. We won the All-Ireland hurling final, and we won the All-Ireland football final. It's unheard of. We're the only county to ever do it. I don't know, do cities in the United States have multiple codes in their city, like the New York Jets?
Yeah, a lot of major cities have teams in all four sports. So New York
can you imagine? Can you imagine one city winning all three or four of them?
I don't think anyone's ever held all four. But yeah, there are cities that get to win 2 or even 3 titles like in a 1 year span. Yeah.
So that's what happened. But
it's rare. That's
what happened in Cork. Basically won the 2 Super Bowls that year in Gaelic football and hurling. It was, and it's unlikely to be ever done again. Cork give it a good stab every year. But again, we're a bit like the New England Patriots. Everybody hates us. We are the most successful GAA county of all time. So in terms of multiples of, camogie, hurling, Gaelic football, inter-county titles. So
gotcha. Okay.
1990, I had my picture taken with both trophies as well. I'd have to dig that out for.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that'd be fun to put on. Yeah.
And yours?
My childhood one would be Notre Dame, the University of Notre Dame, winning the college football championship in 1988. There's that game, and there was another famous game they played against the University of Miami, which the game was billed as the Catholics versus the convicts. Because the University of Miami's team had so many troublemakers. And it was a famous game. I remember where I was watching it. Miami went for what's called a 2-point conversion at the end of the game to try and win it. Notre Dame knocked it away to win by 1 point. And I literally went sprinting out of the house and ran up and down the street screaming my head off. Notre Dame is huge in the U.S. College. They are actually, we were talking about conferences before. They're not actually in a conference because they have so many fans that they sign their own TV deal and make a ton of money that way.
The Fighting Irish.
Yeah, their nickname is the Fighting Irish, but there are fans of Notre Dame, which I was as a child. They're known as the Subway alumni. And basically, they're people from places like New York and Boston and Chicago who are Irish American and Irish Catholic, who root for Notre Dame sports as if they attended the university.
Ah, very good. Carpetbaggers.
Carpetbaggers? No, it's a cultural, Notre Dame has long been like a paragon of virtue for Irish American Catholics. Irish Catholics want to support it. And unfortunately, I'm no longer a fan because they hired one of the worst human beings in the world to be their football coach. He's a human being so bad, he literally got somebody killed.
Oh, that's not.
Yeah, he wanted. Behavior. Yeah, they record practices from an elevated platform, and the student was recording, and they told the coach, it's really windy today. We don't think it's safe for him to go up. And the coach said, send the kid up there. And the thing blew over, and the kid died.
We were trying to end this on a good note. But
we are going to end it on a good note, because I will say, I was joking before about being in a bar watching the Oklahoma City Thunder win that NBA title. That is a neat story. Oklahoma City famously was kind of most known until about 20 years ago for that horrible bombing.
Yeah.
I think that killed 160 people. Yeah. The city rebuilt and tried really hard for years to get a professional team. And they actually got a basketball team for a year, the New Orleans Hornets, who had to flee because of Hurricane Katrina. So they played in Oklahoma City that year, and the fan base was so good and the corporate sponsors' money was good enough that the team in Seattle moved to Oklahoma City. I moved to Oklahoma City at the same time the team did. And it was really just a fascinating experience to be a part of. The pride that the city had in that team and how big a deal it was to people who had lived there their whole lives and had grown up there, that they were now, quote, a big league city, was just a huge deal. Everyone in town went nuts, and they had a really electric players from the start. They lost the finals in 2012. They had all these things happen. To kind of go on that ride for 17 years and then to see them win, that was just, it was really neat, and it was meaningful. And to have friends, back there who still live there, who were part of it, and reach out and tell stories. And that wasn't just a really, really cool thing. And it's why sports matters, I think. We talked about gets into politics and stuff, and there's bad aspects to it too, but sports at their best, they can make a place better. They made Oklahoma City better. I'll believe that till the day I die. And it was really neat to see the culmination of that.
And supporting a winning team is always good.
It really was, man. And I was crying, and I'm not apologizing for it. I'm happy to say it.
Well, I'll weep like a small child if Cork ever win the hurling All-Ireland again. So Okay, I'm Tull from the Irish Politics Newsletter.
And I'm Vince Martin. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening.
Up the rebels. Bye-bye.